Panel 3. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances to the zoning requirements and consent to sever. Our hearings are now in person at Ben Franklin Place, 101 Centrepoint Drive. We also enable remote video conferencing for our registered speakers. We are live streaming on YouTube, and the video will be archived and available for future viewing by the public. My name is Terry Otto. I'll be chairing today's hearings, and you can address me by my name or as chair. And with me are fellow panel members Martin Vervoort, Jocelyn Chandler, Bev Elizabeth Henderson, and Gary Duncan. The procedure for the hearings will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen from time to time are the applications we'll hear today. For the sake of efficiency, I may deal with agenda items in a different order. Panel members have reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support of or opposition to each of the applications. Today, we'll hear any oral submissions relating to the applications. As part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property in question before the hearing. They also had to confirm in writing that they did so, or they'll need to swear or affirm an oath today that they've fulfilled the sign posting requirements. Otherwise, we may have to adjourn or postpone the hearing. The panel may ask for a brief presentation of an application followed by questions for the applicant and city planning staff. We will then hear from members of the public who have registered to speak, and we may also have questions for them. Finally, the applicant, who has the burden of proof, will have an opportunity to make final comments in reply. Please address your comments to me as the chair, starting with your name and spelling if necessary, and your municipal address for the record. All presentations are limited to 5 minutes. Any exception will be at my discretion. At the end of the hearing, the panel may either make an oral decision or we may reserve our decision, which means it won't be delivered today. In either case, and within 10 days, the Committee of Adjustment will send the official written decision and reasons for it to all parties and participants and anyone else who has requested a copy. Does anyone have any questions about the procedure we'll be following today? Seeing none. All right, then. We have several applications to hear today, but first we need to deal with some preliminary procedures. Are there any declarations of interest? No declarations of interest. Thank you. We have no minutes to confirm. We will deal with withdrawal or adjournment requests first. Are there any withdrawal requests? Seeing none. We have 2 adjournment requests. Item number 9, 8597 Franktown Road. Is there anyone wishing to speak to this, please?
Good morning, Jordan Jackson from Novatech. I'm the agent for the property owner. We'd like to speak to the adjournment request from the Ottawa Septic System Office. Their adjournment request is asking that we prepare an engineered report to confirm that the septic system does not cross property lines. We would like to proceed with the hearing this morning as the City of Ottawa staff have a condition number 3, which recommends that the applicant confirm that the septic system does not, as well as the well and other services on the property, do not cross property lines. And so we're willing to accept that as a condition.
Okay, fine. Thank you. You realize that you take the risk of not getting it approved if we go that route today?
Yes, we've spoken with our clients regarding that risk. They're familiar with the property, and we've established property lines based on their knowledge of where the septic system is located.
Okay, very well. We will hear you later on then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 10, 612 Smith. Is there anyone wishing to speak to that adjournment request? Is there anybody online for that?
Mr. Chair, the agent's being brought into the hearing online.
Thank you.
Hello.
Is that Catherine, CBSA?
It's Martin. Sorry, it's
Thank you. Could you repeat your name, please?
it's Martin Brazel from 590 Smith Road.
Thank you, Martin.
Same as the previous adjournment request. I would like to request that the MDS setbacks be included in the conditions for the creation of a new lot. We've confirmed the location of the septic system. I'm just waiting on proper documentation and would like to move forward with the hearing if possible.
Very good. Thank you.
I was just
Mr.
wondering, Mr. Chair, on the MDS requirement, if it can't be met, it would also require a minor variance. So I'm just wondering if it doesn't make sense to have those calculations first
Okay.
to see.
Mr. Brazo, how do you feel about that? Because it is rather important that we meet those conditions. It would
Yeah, well,
probably be better
we
to,
have.
it would
we
probably
did-
be better to wait for 2 weeks or 4 weeks to get those cleared first.
Okay, well, if that's what you recommend, then we'll do that.
So would 2 weeks be sufficient?
Yes.
Very good. Then we will defer that for 2 weeks to our next meeting, which would be
Mr. Chair, it'd be August 20th.
August the 20th.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda would be the items that are recommended for quick approval. We will start with item number 3, 5,000 Ferry Road and W&G O'Rourke. It's also, number 3 is also included with number 4. If there's anybody wishing to speak to that. Go ahead, sir. Introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Mr. O'Rourke, and if there's anything I can add to it, I would do that.
Okay. Thank you very much. There really is no need for you to come and speak because it is on the quick approval process,
Yep.
but that's fine. So you accept the conditions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all in favor of item 3 and 4 at 5,000 Fair Road? Your condition or it's approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 5, part 2 on Plan 4R 27607. If there's no need to speak, approval of this request? Mr. Verboen? Yep. That's approved. Number 8 has been added to the green list, 3796 Dunrobin Road. No one wishing to speak to that? Okay, approval. Number 8 is approved, 3760 Dunrobin Road. And we have 11 and number 12, 7084 Mason and 7090 Marco. Again, if there's no one needing to speak to that.
Mr. Chair, we do have someone online from the applicant or from the agent's office.
All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I am a student intern at Q9 and I'm ready to give the presentation for 7080 Mason and Marco Street if necessary.
Okay, it's on a fast approval process, so it's not necessary.
Okay.
Anybody else?
No,
No.
that's it.
Approval? Your applications are approved for 11 and number 12, 7084 Mason and 7090 Marco.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now I'll return to the regular items, number 15272 Carp Road. The agent at Mr. Robinson.
Good morning, committee. Paul Robinson here on behalf of the owners. If the coordinator could, this is an application for 2 severances from the subject property. And if the coordinator could go to page 10 of the presentation, that'd be appreciated, because there's 2 conditions that we'd like to speak to, conditions 6 and 5. Thank you. So condition 6 is talking about a road widening, requiring it to be 15 meters from the center line of the road to the new front lot line. And when we got this condition, I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday of last week, we spoke to our client's surveyor, and within a matter of minutes, they provided us with these 2 survey plans, one on this page and one on the following page. In 1966, there was a registered plan of survey for the Carp Road construction at the time. At that time, the distance from the center line of the road to the property lines was 86 feet, and it was divided evenly, 43 feet on either side. And in metric, 86 feet is 26.21 meters, so half of that is 13.105. And then, so the subject property is in this area along here. It's on the east side of Carp Road near Baird Road. And then on the next page, page 11 of the presentation. Thank you. In 1993, part 1 was taken off this property, and part 1 is owned by the mother-in-law of the current property owners. And they got a severance in 1993, and the home was built a few years later. It's shown as part 1 on this plan. And then part 2 on this plan was a road widening taken across the retained parcel. The road widening on part 2 that was taken across the retained parcel was 7 feet in width, or 2.13 meters. So that's already been taken. You have 13.105, 2.13, you've got 15.235, which is 50 feet, and it's in excess of 15 meters. So we believe that this condition has been cleared. And our client's surveyor was able to find these documents in a matter of minutes. So if we'd like to have it removed, every condition that we have to clear takes up time, and we believe that the road widening has already been dedicated. That's one of the conditions we'd like to speak about. The other one is condition 5, which is about a noise warning study, and then a noise warning clause. So if the coordinator could go to page 9 of the presentation, please. No, I think that's 8. So it would be the next one. Thank you. So the road, this is from one of the schedules in the official plan about protected right-of-way requirements. The road is an arterial road, and it's supposed to have 30 meters of lot width. But then as well, if you go to page 12 of the presentation. Thank you. Section 10.2.1 of the official plan talks about development proposals for new or expanded noise sensitive land use shall require a noise feasibility study and or a detailed noise study pursuant to the environmental noise control guidelines in the following locations within 100 meters of a right-of-way of an existing arterial road as identified on Schedule C4. Schedule C4 is a schedule in the official plan that only applies to the urban road network. So we believe that this is this noise study requirement and noise warning clause is only applicable for urban settings. I've been in front of this committee for an application on Woodruff for a pair of new semis where this cropped up. This was Woodruff just north of Carling, so a much busier situation. Any homes that would be built in this area would be a minimum of 10 meters back from the road. Typically the noise guidelines specify that you provide central air conditioning in the home and or a type of window that is above the absolute bare minimum. So most, if not all, new homes being built these days have central air conditioning anyway, and would have the window treatment that is above the bare minimum. So we feel that this is not really an applicable requirement in this area. And it's also not geographically an applicable requirement because it's a requirement in the official plan under the urban road network, not the rural road network. So the other thing on this is that it was spec'd that it needs to be against arterial roads. Before you today, there were 2 applications heard that are also on arterial roads that were just approved under the consent agenda, and there was no requirement for a noise warning clause or anything like that on those. So we don't believe it's applicable in this situation, and we'd like to have it removed from the set of conditions that are subject to this application. Other than those 2, conditions 6 and 5, we're in agreement with the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Planning comments?
Yep, happy to comment. Okay, doesn't sound like there's any feedback now. So regarding the road widening, so if the applicant can prove like that the road widening has already been taken, essentially if the applicant provides evidence that the official plan policies have been met in terms of the road widening, then that planning staff would agree that that condition can be waived. Regarding the noise attenuation study condition, it is a standard condition for lots within 100 meters of an existing arterial road. That noise study would just recommend any specific materials, AC, basically any mitigation requirements because it's abutting an existing arterial road. However, we could consider like if the applicant provides evidence that the official plan policies related to noise don't apply, then potentially this condition could be waived, but that's as far as I really have at this point. I would have had to discuss with our engineering staff prior to this, so that's all I have at this time.
Thank you. Comments from the panel? Ms. Chandler?
The clause that you showed us out of the official plan, that's the verbatim clause referring to Schedule C4. Okay, well, in my opinion, you do have to follow the official plan. And if the official plan is pointing specifically to a schedule, that does not apply. It makes perfect sense to me that they wouldn't include rural arterials for noise studies for individual residential homes. So my inclination would be to remove that as a condition, and planning should probably go back and have a discussion with their staff relating to how that condition should be applied, because that makes a lot of sense to me.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I guess just on the road widening thing, I don't know if we can resolve that today. I mean, Mr. Robinson has provided evidence, but normally the city surveyor clears that condition. I don't know if that's like we would normally just put if required, if it's already been granted. I don't know how you feel about that, Mr. Robinson.
As I said before, every condition that we have to clear is just more time and back and forth and emails and phone calls. I'm just trying to simplify it, and I would recommend that maybe the city surveyor be brought into the circulation process on these applications, because they could indicate quickly that the distance has already been provided. So if we have to do it, we have to do it, but it'd be our preference to have it removed.
Sorry.
With regards to the road widening, condition, I'm not comfortable, waiving that. I do think it needs to be cleared by the city, even though it would appear that has been provided. However, I do think it needs to be, cleared appropriately through the city's, surveying office. With regards to the noise attenuation study, further to my colleague on the panel, if that schedule identifies specifically that it is in the urban arterial, I think it needs to be cleared with planning. They need to go back and figure out why they're requesting this condition in a rural area on an arterial road, because it's very specific in the official plan.
Thank you. So, Mr. Robinson, what are your comments on that?
In terms of, common sense says that anybody building a house is not going to be building a house right up against the road, and they're going to have central air conditioning and or window specs. To do a noise study to tell them what they were going to do anyway does not seem like a good use of time and money on this. So we would prefer to have the condition removed. And when I looked at the agenda for today's hearing, I could see that there were two other applications also on Arterial Road, and they did not have this condition. It did not seem consistent. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we have Erin O'Connell with her hand up.
Yes, I work with support Elizabeth King in the review. I just wanted to say I appreciate Mr. Robinson bringing this to our attention, both of those discrepancies with the conditions. And so I'd suggest if the panel is having some hesitation in their removal, perhaps if you can just add the wording to the end of the condition if required, we can take both those conditions back to staff and double check this. We just haven't had a chance up to the point of this hearing to confirm whether this information is in fact accurate. And so we'd appreciate that time to double check that. If this is accurate, and then we can provide that waiver to the Committee of Adjustment directly.
Thank you very much. Okay, panel, any other questions, or can we make a decision on this? Either we remove it or add the words if required to both 5 and 6. Ms. Shannon?
I think adding if required to the road widening is always prudent, but given that Mr. Robinson has brought forward very clear information, I'm comfortable still removing the noise control condition.
Thank you.
I would agree with that as well.
Planning has something to say.
Sorry, Luke and I were just discussing, if committee does want to remove the condition of a noise study, planning staff would recommend that just a notice on title. We can send the wording to coordinator staff. Does that make sense?
I get a nod from Mr. Robinson, so okay, so we will remove that condition.
We have to do some legal matters anyway on this application, so the lawyers will have to get involved.
I'm sure they will, as is everything, right? And we will add if required to the road widening, so everybody, can we approve this as is now?
Sorry, just to clarify then, so condition number 5 would be a warning on title if required.
Yes.
And number 6, road widening would be, we would add the wording if required.
If required, correct.
I agree with that.
All in favor? It's approved, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2, I believe you're on deck for that one as well.
Thank you. So on this item, it's a surplus farm lot for Jim Flewellen. And there is one condition, and it's about road widenings. And if the coordinator could go to page 8 of the presentation, please. Thank you. This is the subject property is shown on the north side of Carey Side Road, just west of Donald Munro. It's a gravel road. I'll show pictures in a couple of minutes. There are 5 houses on the Carey Side Road in that 1 kilometer distance. And then to the west is a road called Moores Road. There's 10 houses on that road south of Kinburn Side Road, and it dead ends just south of Carey Side Road. Both of those roads are gravel roads, very lightly used, and really just used by the people who live on the street. It does not really form a practical through route, especially since it's a gravel road. If the coordinator could go to the next page, please. So this is Schedule C9 of the official plan, and the subject property is outlined in blue. And you can see Moores Road on the west side, and the actual road itself, it's not named, but that is Carey Side Road. And it is in green in the hierarchy of roads, it is a collector road. And collector roads have got a right-of-way width of 26 meters, not 30 meters, because the condition 4 in the staff report is asking for, similar to the last item, asking for 15 meters from the center line. It really should be only 13 meters because this is a collector road and not an arterial road. If we could go to the next slide, please. This is the subject property. The area shown in red is the outline of the lot that is to be created as the surplus lot. We scaled it off from Geo Ottawa. It's 20.2 meters across the property. So half of that is 10.1. So it would be a requirement, road widening of about 2.9 meters or roughly 3 meters. And then if you could go to the next slide, please. I got stretched. And so this is the to be severed and the to be retained. And the next slide, please. Oh, sorry. There were some photos that we included that show the road itself. It's a gravel road. You'd have to be taking about 630 meters of frontage in terms of a road widening. Multiplied by the 3 meters, it's over 1,800 square meters, or almost half an acre of a road widening on a farm that is being farmed, and it's got hydro lines very close to the edge of the property. You can see here that this is a gravel road that is probably less. It's about 5.5 to 6 meters in width. And it has very low traffic, and it would be our request that the road widening only be taken on the parcel to be created. As well, one of the requirements in the conditions, and we're fully aware of this, is that we, upon the committee's decision on this, one of the conditions we have to clear is to do a zoning application whereby the to be retained lands need to be zoned so that no new residential development can be created, which then limits even further any potential for any increased traffic along this road. All of the lands on Carey Side Road and on Moores Road are in various agricultural zones, which do not allow rural subdivisions. So the amount of traffic that would ever be coming along this road is very low. So it would be our request that that condition be removed. And it should have been only a 13-meter center line to the edge of road width and not a 15-meter due to the hierarchy of road that this is. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So to confirm, the road widening, for consistency's sake, we wouldn't be comfortable waiving the requirements for Moores or Carey Side Road. We would be okay changing the width requirement to 13 rather than 15. Because as Mr. Robinson has said, it's only 26 meters, not 30. So we can change that. And it will be cleared by the city surveyor. However, we can run it by the city's transportation planning staff to confirm whether or not the full width would be required.
Thank you. So my understanding is it has to stand the way it's written, other than the 13 meters. And we cannot remove that condition. So it's up to you if you're not happy with that, then you can appeal it to LPAT, because we've had many of these situations and we're stuck with road widening.
Thank you. I feel in this situation on a road, I can understand if it was a busier road that did not have, had a shortcoming in terms of its width, but here we've got a gravel road that is not, it's not a standard path between point A and point B. It's only used by the residents of that road to go through the surveying exercise, to have the surveyor that Mr. Flewellen has retained go and do all of that surveying work for something that I can't imagine would ever be utilized, especially since there's only 5 houses on this road. There's 10 houses on the other road, Moores Road. I can't imagine any situation whereby they would ever need that width of road to be used for an upgrade, and even an upgrade from gravel to paved would not generate the need to take the land. It's an unfortunate requirement.
Thank you. Can we make a decision, or you want to reserve this, or? Good, good, okay. So we leave the condition in, reduce it to 13 meters if required by planning. Okay, all in favor? It's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson, for your comments. All right. I believe our next one is number 6, 1500 Thomas Argue.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Miranda Virginella from Novatech. I'm joined today by
Greg Winters, Director at Novatech. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we would like to address some of the conditions that are tied to the approval of this application. We understand from our discussions with planning staff last week that condition 2 and 3 will be appropriately scoped to address the immediately adjacent portions of the retained lands. So we're in agreement with that. For condition 5, we are considering an adjournment, but don't believe it would be a good use of the committee's time and resources. So we prefer to discuss and resolve this morning if at all possible. We believe condition 5 may have come from building code services, possibly not fully understanding the application. While it's proposed to retain the existing buildings and the private well, the existing septic system will be removed and relocated. Condition 5 requires a septic system assessment report. We would understand the purpose of applying this condition if the septic system was proposed to be retained, in which case the adequacy of the private services would need to be assessed. The replacement of the septic system is actually required by condition 3, which relates to independent services that do not cross the proposed property lines, or the replacement of the septic system to be located on the proposed severed lot. So our client will be replacing the septic system to be located fully on the proposed severed lot, and we've ensured there's sufficient area within the front yard to do so. The existing septic system's condition is irrelevant because there are other conditions that require its replacement. The design of the new septic system would be reviewed through an OSSO permit application. So we're asking for condition 5 to be removed because it doesn't serve a purpose for this application.
And if I would just add, it would be more likely to treat this application as if it was a brand new severance for a new lot. Whereas the committee usually sees applications like this that we don't actually have to show a septic system on that lot. We only have to demonstrate that there's suitable area for that septic system. So we believe the previous condition mentioned by my colleague is appropriate and that the condition number 5 should be taken off. Thank you.
Planning, comments?
Yeah, so condition number 5 was requested by city engineering just so that we could confirm the location of the new septic system, and that the existing septic system is removed. If that makes sense.
Still don't quite understand, Chair, why you'd be asking for the location for a new septic system. Again, we don't do that typically on rural severances, as you know. We just have to confirm that there's suitable size for the area of the property to show that there's for a septic system. So in this case, if the septic system is being completely abandoned, I don't see the necessary condition to be imposed on the clients to go out and study something that's going to be removed. It's on an adjacent property. It's going to be abandoned. So again, we just don't feel that it's necessary at this time.
Planning?
I'd say our previous comment stands. We would just want to confirm where everything is before the new lot is created.
If it would help the chair, we could bring up the presentation as well so that we could point out as to where the septic system is on the plan and where the proposed lot is, if it would help orient everybody for this situation.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm just wondering if the solution isn't to revise condition 3 to indicate that the applicant demonstrate that there is sufficient space on the new lot to install a new septic system, and that the applicant provide evidence that the existing septic system has been decommissioned. I think that satisfies all the concerns, but it might get us around this sort of circular argument.
I think, Mr. Chair, that the first part of that condition would be appropriate. I'm not sure about the timing to be able to satisfy the second part of that commission, because I'm not sure when the septic system is going to be decommissioned.
Ms. Chandler?
I was just going to say, wouldn't it be decommissioned at the time that when the new septic system's installed?
It would be, Mr. Chair, but I'm just looking at the timing as to when we'll actually clear that condition, because there's some urgency, obviously, in these matters to resolve it so we can transfer ownership of the property. So I'm not sure they would be at that timing or not.
I'm sorry, I'm not totally following, because you have to install the new septic system anyway, right? So
that's correct, through the chair, yes.
And then wouldn't you just decommission the old one as soon as the new one is connected?
Absolutely, yes.
So those sort of follow each other, don't they? Or
it would. I'm just concerned again about clearing the condition to be able to effect the transfer of the sale of the property rather than actually constructing the septic system. I'm not sure what the timing is for the construction of the septic system would be. It would be reasonably to assume that it would be soon after the sale of the property, but I'm not sure if it's immediately afterwards. And again, I'm not sure how we get into the do loop of clearing a condition to affect the transfer and sale of the property when we haven't done the work.
Ms. Chandler?
So I had a couple of questions here, but I have to put this one back to the applicant. How do you propose to complete the severance in advance of constructing a new septic system? Because if the severance is completed and registered, you would then have a situation where you have a septic system on a separate lot, and that can't happen.
It's a fair point. It is a fair point. Mr. Chair, unfortunately, we don't have our client here to be able to discuss this matter with them. So I think our best option is to ask for an adjournment to give us some time to be able to go back to the client to be able to discuss the revised condition if that's appropriate.
Would 2 weeks be good enough, or do you need a month, or?
2 weeks should be sufficient, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Very good. All in favor of adjournment? It's adjourned. Thank you very much.
Just for the record, Mr. Chair, it's adjourned to August 20th.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, did we have a speaker that was on the list for this?
Unfortunately, yes, I guess we did, and I ignored that person.
We can still speak to it.
Is that person available to speak to? A myth Hora, I believe.
They are online, Mr. Chair.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hope all is well. My name is Amit Hora, resident of Diamond View Estates, Carp, 17 Southwood Private, and one of the directors for the condo board, OCCECC number 1043, CMG Condominium Management Group, representing Diamond View Estates, which is a community of homes built by Phoenix Homes and Matino Developments near the Carp Airport. I have two questions. Based on the proposals and drawings, is Helicopter Services Canada buying or leasing the Carp Airport? It was mentioned transfer of sale. And also with the proposed land takeover and building of new hangars on the existing Carp Airport lands, will this generate new helicopter testing in the area, specifically over the community Diamond View Estates, a community primarily consisting of single home and townhomes located in the proximity of the Carp Airport? Currently, there are many helicopters flying over the community at various times of the day and at times at low altitude, which has created quite a bit of noise pollution in the area. So will a noise feasibility study be done regarding this? And if I may, the second question, page 5 of 1500 Tarmas Argue Plans PDF indicates the city park along Wingover Private, where the notice of the committee's signage was posted. Has a timeline been set for a park to be built? Diamond View Estates was established in 2018, and many residents have been advocating for a city park by reaching out to the City of Ottawa, its planning department, and local councillors. We have not received any definite responses with regards to timeline. As mentioned, the community consists of families, primarily with young children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, those two items are not within our jurisdiction to talk about or discuss. I believe you'd probably have to go to your counselors to get to the bottom of certainly the park issue. And there's been no request for a noise attenuation study by planning that I'm aware of, as it has been an airport all along. So unfortunately, we can't deal with that, but thank you for your input.
Mr. Chair, not to impose upon you, but we can answer some of those questions if it's to your discretion.
Yes, go ahead.
So to the first question relating to Helicopter Services Canada, they're an existing tenant. It's not, we can't really speak to the expansion of the use, but they're an existing tenant at the Carp Airport. Diamond View Estates is part of the Carp Airport accessory residential community, so it's the subdivision immediately adjacent to the airport. Each of those homes would have been registered with a notice on title related to noise generated by the airport itself and any airport activities. With regards to the second question, related to the city park, our understanding is that the city park design is being advanced by city park staff. And so design is underway for the city park.
Okay, thank you very much for your information, but regardless, this is adjourned till August the 20th. Thank you very much for your attention and your input. Okay, 6. The next one is number 7, 1126 Cope.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
I apologize. This is the first time I've done one of these, so I didn't know we could bring digital information. That said, I brought some paper copies that I was hoping to distribute to the members.
That's fine. Yes, go ahead. Or Cheryl, can you put it on screen? Okay.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, because the information is not digital, it's not available to everyone online as well. So we'll go with the presentation and the documents that committee staff have available.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I guess there was one concern.
Could you introduce yourself, please, with your
Yes,
address?
sorry, I'm Alex Beckett, the authorized agent for Vailcraft Homes.
Thank you.
So I guess there was one concern from the city's ROW department for the widening a driveway. Well, the driveway has not been installed yet, but we do have a 2-car garage townhome on an exterior corner lot that we wish to have a full width driveway from the garage face all the way to the road. And zoning does not have a concern with it on the private side of the property line, but there was a concern from the ROW department in terms of their 50% frontage regulation in their zoning bylaw. And we have some concerns with that, and we were just hoping for relief on that issue. So further to the rationale provided in the application, I just want to go over some points as to why we believe that it should be approved. And we're only asking for a 10% increase in the driveway area. And doing so will provide more parking, and it will alleviate on-street parking pressure on Cope Drive. And it's also commonplace in the area and throughout the entire city. I also brought 6 examples where it was permitted within a 600-meter radius of this address. So if it was permitted for other builders to do it, we believe that it should also be permitted for us. And in practicality, we believe that the skewed driveway would only impact the future homeowner, and it could also create a safety issue when backing out of the garage or driveway, because there's a 2-meter bike lane as well as a 2-meter walkway that they have to back through. So if they have to turn their wheel to reverse, it could create a safety issue in that regards. And the full width driveway does not compromise the sight line at the intersection of Cope Drive and Craig Duncan Terrace. And the proposed variance is consistent with the general intent of the zoning bylaw. And the corner side yard provides an extensive landscaped area with an animated building face, which contributes to a more attractive streetscape, which is actually encouraged by the city's official plan.
Okay, thank you. Planning?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so planning staff's concerns is coming directly from the right-of-way staff's concerns with the proposal. So while right-of-way management staff don't have to issue a private approach permit because it's within a planned subdivision, driveways are still expected to comply with the private approach bylaw. And in particular, it can't exceed that maximum 50% of the frontage. Right-of-way staff also mentioned that, like, should the committee approve this application, they have noted that it will still be enforced by their enforcement bylaw officer for this case, so they did just want to make note of that. I don't have much further, like anything to say. Like the private approach bylaw, like the intent of that 50% is similar in the way that the bylaw, like the zoning bylaw also maintains that 50%. Like we're dealing with a suburban transit area that's located outside the green belt. So we're dealing with different provisions than like a suburban area within the green belt. So it's maintaining like that consistent frontage. This property, it's a part of a very new subdivision from what I understand, like 2023. So that site triangle was taken with that plan of subdivision at the time. And like, as noted on the plan, you can kind of see where the driveway is going into that bit of that site triangle. That's where right-of-way staff are having concerns, and planning staff just have to reiterate that on behalf of right-of-way staff. We did suggest a minor revision to the applicant to kind of be a medium between what the applicant wants, but also addressing right-of-way concerns. I did provide a visual to the committee coordinator if the committee is interested in seeing that revision. I'm not sure if that's allowed to be pulled up on screen, but yes, so just up on the screen, so on the left side of the screen, just highlighted in green is the current full width proposal that the applicant's showing. And then on the right side was our suggested revision, where we were suggesting a slight jog in. So it would be 50% at the private approach side, and then the applicant could widen up to the full 60% once it goes in. But right away did note that they would have to enforce the minimum 6-meter setback from the intersection, and that's measured along the property line. So that was just our suggestion. That's all I have at this point, but happy to try and clarify anything else further.
We're only talking about 60 square feet or 70 square feet of asphalt additional in those two little areas beside the red line.
Go ahead.
I think the difficulty here, sir, is we can't provide you with relief from that.
Okay.
That's not, it's, you haven't, I don't even know if you can get a minor variance for that particular relief because of the part of the bylaw that's under. We can only provide you with relief for what you've requested, which is 60% of the front yard. We can't, I don't think we have the jurisdiction to take it any further, given it's not part of the proposal that's in front of us. And as planning is noted, they're going to enforce it.
Okay, right, and it wasn't part of the initial proposal, and it was just brought up in like the 11th hour from city review, so we weren't even, or because typically with developers, the right of way permits, we don't pull permits for private approaches. That's done under subdivision approval. And in most developments, the developer gets a zoning amendment done just for this scenario. We were not the developer in this case, and that's why we're coming to the Committee of Adjustment.
Right, so we can provide a variance to go to 60% of the front yard.
Okay.
Your property. We can't.
You can.
There's no application here.
Okay.
To extend it along the right of way, and I don't even know if we can provide a variance for that. I'm not sure. If it's a grave concern to you, you could ask to adjourn the application and go back to planning committee and pursue that further with them if you really want that relief at the end of the driveway also. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
It's city property. It's,
Okay. But why is it it's permissible for all the other builders, so it should be permitted here too, you know?
We have another comment.
So first of all, minor variances and committee of adjustment, we don't, we look at the application in front of us.
Okay.
It's not a precedent setting forum. So although, and I don't know what other properties you're talking about have seen this relief. I think in this particular instance, the location at the corner is perhaps why planning outside of the zoning being 50%, you are on a sight line and a curve. You also just mentioned that there is a sidewalk and a 2-meter pathway.
Correct.
So all of a sudden to widen a driveway on a corner lot with sightline, you know, questionable, with a sidewalk and with a bicycle path, there's a lot happening. So I think what the city proposed to you to have what you would like on your own property and then bring it down to 50%. Works well. I mean, as my colleague said, I don't know that we can even provide relief on the right of way.
Okay, so we couldn't even apply again for another variance on that part. Okay. Fair enough.
Well, I think the other option is to adjourn the matter and try and discuss with the city whether or not they would allow that, but
Okay,
it doesn't sound like the right of way folks are probably gonna approve that.
okay. Can we adjourn it? I will talk to the owners of the company, see if they want to go through with another discussion with the city. And if we don't want to go forward, I can let that be known.
Would 2 weeks be good enough for you?
Yeah.
All right, then we can adjourn that for 2 weeks for you to allow time to discuss with the city if you can get what you actually want.
Okay.
And the owners.
Yeah, the other thing I would say too is if the application is gonna be amended, it'll have to be recirculated, so.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
So in favor of adjournment? All right, till August the
20th.
August 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I believe the next item on the agenda is number 10, 612 Smith. Pardon me, number 9. Yes. Franktown, 8597 Franktown Road. Go ahead, please.
Good day, Jordan Jackson from Novatech. I'm the agent representing the property owner. We filed 2 severance applications to sever the property at 8597 Franktown Road to create 2 new residential lots, as well as a minor variance application to reduce a required MDS setback for the creation of one of the lots. We've gone over the city staff report and would like to speak to 2 of the conditions. I'd like to just reiterate, our client is generally okay with the conditions recommended by staff, but we would just like to speak to 2 of them. If we wouldn't mind, if we could put up slide number 5 from the presentation. So the first condition I'd like to speak to is condition number 7. It's just regarding some of, sorry, go back one more slide. Yes, that's the correct one. Is with regards to condition number 7. So with our application, we had filed a mineral aggregate impact assessment report, which we understand staff has not had the chance to review at this time. We just want to seek some clarification with regards to the wording of this condition. The adjacent lands, there is not an active court or pit operation, and the conditions speak to demonstrating that the potential future expansion of a mineral aggregate operation will not be affected by the proposed development, as well as speaking to current mineral extraction, whereas there is no licensed pit within the immediate surrounding area of the property to be severed. So we're just seeking some clarification whether this is standard wording or whether this condition could be revised to sort of reflect the site context in this case. And then I would like to speak to condition number 9, which requests an environmental impact study with respect to the water course that transects the property. The lot configurations that we've proposed for the severance application, we have considered appropriate building envelopes with respect to providing a 30-meter setback to the water course. As you can see on the slide here, with lot number 1, there's an appropriate building envelope that can be provided. The lot being created is 0.9 hectares. And when you consider development setbacks as well as zoning, you're looking at a building envelope of 0.3 hectares to accommodate the septic system as well as a future dwelling. And then when you go to lot number 2, the building envelope again gets larger. And this is also considering the building envelopes when you have to apply the mineral extraction zone setback of 50 meters from the adjacent lands. So we would like to request that this condition be removed, seeing as we're of the opinion appropriate building envelopes can be provided. And when we look to the comments that were provided by the Conservation Authority, they've noted that they are satisfied with the proposed building envelopes on the severed lots as well. So those are my comments on those 2 conditions. And generally, we have no concerns with the conditions as proposed, but we would just like to request that condition 9 be removed and then seek clarification on condition number 7.
Thank you. Planning.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So to clarify the mineral resource extraction condition, I believe that we would want to see instead of expansion of an extraction operation, maybe establishment, because this is just standard wording. It usually accounts for the presence of a mineral operation already existing on a property. In this case, there is no extraction operation happening, but it is zoned for mineral extraction, and there is a sand and gravel overlay in close proximity. So if we could revise the wording to say the establishment of an extraction operation, I think that would address this better. And to speak to condition number 9, I believe that we could accept the development envelopes that you've provided here, but we'd want to change the condition to have those registered on title instead of providing an EIS.
Go ahead. Thank you.
We would prefer not to have the building envelopes registered on title, seeing as we're implementing the city's zoning bylaw. And so when we go to apply for a building permit, at that time, you would apply the zoning standards within the city's zoning bylaw as to opposed to a development agreement. So what you're shown here is generally like an estimate of the setbacks. And then when you go to apply for that building permit, you're going to get the dimensions correctly identified for that water course setback.
And what about the your first concern, the mineral resource impact assessment?
I think the
Can
changing.
you live with that?
Yeah, the changing in wording would be all right.
Okay. So panel, any questions, comments?
I'd just like to hear from planning on condition number 9. So, because typically we do identify building envelopes and put them on title, but if it's redundant because it's already required by the bylaw, I'm not sure how much value there is in that. So I'd like to hear from planning on that.
Thank you.
Yes, I think it's more in the interest of avoiding a potential need for a minor variance for the setbacks moving forward. But if the zoning bylaw requires that, then I think we'd be okay having the condition removed.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Martin. So we'll live with that then, can we?
If the condition can be removed, that would be our preference.
Okay. Jocelyn?
I think just as a general comment, the condition should be removed precisely because if you register on title, you remove the right of someone to apply for a minor variance if they wish to encroach on that setback. And that's kind of how zoning bylaws are meant to work. So removing that condition entirely, I think would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Any other comments? Can we approve that with the condition number 9 removed?
I just wanted to, sorry, just one more thing. I just wanted to make sure we were covered regarding the Was there also a request by also for a septic location for the existing dwelling? I just wanted to make sure we were covered. I thought there was a. So the existing sewage system with respect to the proposed property line for the existing house. I just want to make sure we are covered, that was a condition. Because I believe you had indicated you were prepared to take your chances, so to speak, so I just want to make sure we're covered on that too.
Yeah, but my understanding is the septic system office was requesting an adjournment, but condition number 3 from the city's comments are asking for clarification that the septic system well, as well as some drainage features do not cross property lines, and we're willing to accept that as a condition.
And I'm assuming planning's comfortable with that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, are we prepared? Okay, good. I'll call the question then. All those in favor? It's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. With changes that have been made. And I believe that brings us to the end of our day. Thank you very much, panel members and staff. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.